What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our college football channel. It's time for Upset Alert Week 10. And last week was kind of a quiet week. It seems like there were some big upsets because Louisville upset Wake Forest. And then also another one that kind of seemed like a big upset, Kansas State defeating Oklahoma State. But the spreads for those games weren't even really upsets when you look at the spreads. Again, when we do this each week, the spread has to be 4 points or more for it to be considered. And so there really weren't any big upsets last weekend. Looking ahead to this weekend, I think there's a lot of potential for upsets. We're getting into the month of November. I think last week, week 8, or the week before last, we had 4 of the 8 games that we listed actually were upsets. And I think we're going to get something similar this week. I think we're going to see a bunch of upsets. And I think we're going to see them the rest of the season because the pressure starts to build for some of these top teams. Teams that have been able to win some close games, well, now the bounces are going to go against them and they're going to lose some close games. I mean, things are just going to happen as we get into this last month of the season. So again, I expect some upsets this week. Here are my 8 picks that I think have the potential to be upsets. I'm not saying they're all going to be upsets, but the 8 games that have the potential to be an upset where the spread is 4 points or more. And we're going to go from the least likely to the most likely. And you're going to be really surprised by my most likely upset this week when we get there. So let's start with Texas Tech at TCU. This game is at noon Eastern time on Fox. It's the big noon game. TCU favored by 9.5. TCU has been the better team all year. They should win this game. They're playing at home. No reason to really expect Texas Tech to win. But I'll tell you what, Texas Tech is a good team. They're a pretty solid 4-4 team. There are several teams that are 4-4. They're actually, I think, better than some teams with 3 or even 2 losses at this point. But yeah, Texas Tech, not a bad team. And it's just all about the pressure. The first playoff rankings coming out. You know, TCU really starting to believe maybe they can make a run at the college football playoff. Does that pressure start to get to them? Potentially, probably not. They've also had a lot of slow starts, and if they do start slow in this game, you know, eventually that's going to catch up to them. So I'm going to put them on upset alert. I don't think they're going to lose, but there are some ingredients there where we could potentially see an upset. And the Big 12 is crazy. I think we're going to see a lot of great games the rest of the season in that conference. Moving on to Clemson at Notre Dame. This one's at 7:30 Eastern time on NBC. Clemson favored by 4.5. Not a big number considering, you know, they're a top 10 team. Notre Dame's not even ranked. This is a tough one for me. Coming into this season, this was the game that I picked Clemson to lose. I thought they would go on the road and get upset by Notre Dame. Notre Dame has not been as good as I thought they would be this year, but they have shown at times the potential to be really good. I mean, they beat North Carolina. That looks like a really good win now. And then you look at their win last weekend against Syracuse. So it's just a team that's been very inconsistent, and maybe you get that with a first-year head coach. If they play their best and they're playing at home, they absolutely can win this game. Clemson has been a little shaky at times this year. If Clemson plays their best, I think they win. If both teams play their best, I think Clemson probably wins this game. But it's going to be close, and that's why the spread's only 4.5 points. But if Clemson plays their B game and Notre Dame plays their A+ game, I think Notre Dame has a chance to pull off this upset. So we'll see what happens there. Again, potential for an upset. Iowa at Purdue. This one's at noon Eastern time. Purdue favored by 4.5. This has been another team that, has been inconsistent this year. And just go back to the Wisconsin game. Wisconsin, a similar team to Iowa. Potentially, an upset coming here. I know Iowa's offense has been awful. They did score some points last week against Northwestern. So, you never know. It's late in the season, like I said. Both teams have been up and down, so I really don't know what to expect in this game. I like Purdue, but again, anything could happen here in this one. It wouldn't surprise me. All right, 3:30 Eastern time on ESPN Plus, Iowa State and West Virginia. I think Baylor, Oklahoma is also on ESPN Plus, maybe even at the same time. I'm not sure what's up with that. Anyways, both teams 3-5. Iowa State got a really good defense. West Virginia's had an offense that has looked explosive at times. They looked pretty good against TCU last week, almost won that game. I think on a neutral field, West Virginia is a better team than Iowa State, but they are playing them on the road. So I get why Iowa State is favored. I think 7 is a pretty big number. I would have expected that to be closer to 3. Again, it's offense versus defense. Could come down to some turnovers, maybe a penalty. This is one of those games that I think will be close and could go either way. So definitely put Iowa State on upset alert. How about Washington State at Stanford, 3:30 Eastern time on the Pac-12 network? Washington State favored by 5. They are playing on the road, although I don't think fans really go to these Stanford games. I saw a video recently where, I mean, it was just pathetic how many people were in the stands. But Stanford's a team that's better than their record at 3-5. They've had a really tough schedule. Remember, they did beat Notre Dame. They'll have a chance in this one. It's not that I think Washington State's overrated or anything. I actually think Washington State's a really good 4-4 team. But I think Stanford's a really good 3-5 team. So I think both teams are better than their record would suggest. And again, it's just one of those that I think will be close. Could go either way. Stanford playing at home. Maybe they pull off the upset. All right, Tennessee and Georgia. This one's at 3:30 Eastern time on CBS. Georgia favored by 8.5, and I've been having a really hard time with this one. I've been going back and forth. You know, Tennessee has the kind of offense that can definitely give Georgia's defense some problems. Can Tennessee's defense stop Georgia? I think Georgia's probably going to really try to run the ball in this game, slow the game down, but that might play into Tennessee's hands, at least on defense, because their run defense is really good. It'll come down to turnovers. If you look at Georgia this season, when they've been really, really good, they've taken care of the football. When they've struggled, they've committed turnovers. If they can take care of the football, they will win this game, I do believe. But if they commit a couple of turnovers, and Tennessee's defense showed last week that they can force those turnovers, if Tennessee can do that on defense, I think they will win this game. So it's one that I think could go either way. I get the spread just because it's at Georgia, and Georgia's a number one team and all this. Or everyone, you know, they've kind of been at the top for so long. Tennessee, not so much. So I get it. But if I was going to pick this game, I would definitely put that spread under a touchdown. I do think that most likely this will be a one-score game, a really close game. All right, Maryland, Wisconsin at noon Eastern time on the Big Ten Network. Wisconsin favored by 5.5 points. This is a 4-4 team against a 6-2 team, and Wisconsin is favored. That's interesting. Wisconsin has played a little bit better as of late. They were awful early in the year. Maryland hasn't really played a tough schedule. Lost to Purdue, lost to Michigan, haven't really beaten anyone else. So I don't know. This one's a tough one for me. I don't really have a good feel for this one, but I think Maryland is definitely capable of winning this game. They have an explosive offense. Wisconsin, not so much. Wisconsin has a good defense though, so it's one that I think can really go either way. But absolutely, Wisconsin should be on upset alert. I'm actually surprised that they're favored in this game. And then we have Alabama and LSU. This is actually the game that I think is most likely to be an upset. In fact, I'm picking LSU to win this game. I am very surprised that number is at 13. Now, I guess that's what happens when you're Alabama. But the game is at 7 o'clock Eastern time on ESPN. Again, a 13-point spread. I just think a lot of things are going in LSU's favor here. When you look at the matchup, first of all, it's a game at night at Death Valley. Very, very tough place to play. Maybe the toughest in all of college football at nighttime. They're going to be fired up. LSU has something to play for. If they win out, they're going to go to the SEC championship and possibly make it to the college football playoff, which seems crazy when you look at where they were just a few weeks ago. But it's a team that's been getting better and better. You look at Jaden Daniels, what he can do with his legs. What has Alabama's defense always struggled with? Dual threat quarterbacks. And LSU also has receivers that can make plays. They've underperformed this year so far, but we're starting to see them play better and better. Passing game starting to click. And you've also got an LSU team that has a really good pass rush. That's Alabama's weakness on offense. If they can get after Bryce Young, they're going to slow down this Alabama offense. I think it's going to be a great game. I really do. And I just think all the ingredients are there for LSU to pull off the upset. It wouldn't surprise me if Alabama won. It's a game that could go either way. If Alabama gets off to a quick start, I think it could turn into a game that's really not all that close, because LSU's confidence might, they might get shot or take the crowd out of it early, and their confidence will get shot down. So, it could go that way. That wouldn't shock me. But if the game stays close, I think LSU pulls it out in the fourth quarter. And again, I just think it's a bad matchup for Alabama. Look at last year and what LSU's defense was able to do, bringing the blitz all night long. I expect that again, and that's why I think LSU is going to pull off an upset. So that is my one pick that I'm going to say is actually going to be an upset. LSU over Alabama would be a big one. Again, the spread 13 points. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Which game do you think is most likely to be an upset? Which game maybe that I didn't list on my video here? Which game do you think could be an upset that I didn't list? Give me your thoughts down in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more here on the SG1 Sports College Football Channel.